Welcome to Tote's Christmas preview. It's going to be a huge few days of racing. We're calling this the 12 races of Christmas. So we're going to preview all of the Grade 1 action between Christmas and into the new year, or as much as we can do in the time that we've got with the guys on Christmas Eve. Thank you for joining us, everybody. I know, Danny, you're in the airport, so we'll get cracking straight away if we can. So we'll start with the first race that we've got on the list anyway, and we'll start at Kempton, and we'll go to you, Richard. It's the Kato Star Novices Chase. It looks like it could be a match between Bravesman's Game and Ahoy Senor.
Yeah, they're definitely the best two horses in the race. Well, with form so far. For Ahoy Senor, do you mean to be fair, his form is very, very solid, and I think if Paul Nicholls trained him and it was the other way around, he'd probably be favourite. So I think he's the value in the race. Nothing against Bravesman's Game at all. He's been very impressive. I just think perhaps the price, is almost more related to the trainer than actually the horses. They're both two exceptional horses, and on official BHA ratings, Ahoy Senor is the best horse on ratings. So he's probably the better value, and I think T Clipper as well of Tom Lacey's. He looked very impressive at Chepstow. He ran no race at all at Newbury the last day. I think if you can put a line through that, he's still, at 25 to 1, he's still a very big price. But the main two in the race, they're definitely the best two over this side of the water we've seen so far this year.
And sticking with Kempton, the next Grade 1 is the Christmas Hurdle. Always a fascinating race for champion hurdle contenders. Epperton is in there as the one that's already won the champion hurdle, and many people think that she could be the one again this time, especially for this race anyway.
Yeah, I think Kempton probably really suits Epperton. I think Newcastle, it's a very long straight up there, and she's got loads of speed, and maybe it just didn't quite work to her strengths. Again, she might well improve from that first run as well, where not so sleepy. I think he was a hardened handicapper that just sort of grounded out, and obviously it was a fantastic run from him to get the dead heat. But I would have thought, for me, Epperton is definitely one I'd want to be on, and it does look between those two that they're far and away got the best form in the race, and realistically Epperton is the class act. Definitely.
So, and onto the King George. So I'll go around the group, so to speak, now. And Danny, I'll start with you. The reason you're in the airport is obviously you're coming over for a ride in the King George on Boxing Day. You ride Tornado Flyer. Are you hopeful that he can get involved? Obviously an outsider in the race, but he's certainly got plenty going for him.
Yeah, he's an outsider in the race, but he was the second to Min in the John Durkin, and I was third in the Ryanair and Cheltenham last year. So, he on his best of his form, he can run a big race at an each way price. It's one hell of a race. Clan des Obeaux, won the race twice. He's the one I think is probably the best chance of the Nicholls horses in it. The only thing, I think the last time he won on his reappearance was as a 3-year-old. Paul Nicholls has had him in Wincanton, and he definitely loves Kempton. But the only question mark for me on Clan des Obeaux is the fact that he hasn't a great record on his racecourse reappearance. But that would normally be a lot earlier in the season. I'm sure Paul will have him ready. He knows how to win this race. Frodon is the other horse of Paul Nichols's. Was very good the last day in Down Royal. He won the race last year, and the best of them puts him in there with a big chance. But just last year, maybe a couple of his runs, he didn't back things up, race to race. He'd put in a good performance and then underperform a little bit. So he just needs to bring his A game. Asterion Forlonge is the main hope for Willie. Horse with a huge engine, stopped the race at the third last in the John Durkin, and he looked likely to give Allaho a lot to think about. But that said, if you go back to Chantry House and look at him winning Cheltenham last year, stopped the race at the third last as well, and you would have thought Asterion Forlonge was going to get involved very much. He just doesn't seem to be a real strong finisher, but I think Kempton will suit him going right-handed as well. And I spoke already about Chantry House, and I think Barr, he was third in the Supreme Novices and had a disappointing run around Cheltenham one day. apart from that, he's been very impressive in what I've looked through of his form. I think he's a horse it's difficult to say he's under the radar, but he could really pop up in a race like this. Manila Indo, obviously another one. It's a top class race, but he needed the running down Royal. And looking at him around Leopardstown a few days last year, I thought he was a horse that maybe needs a couple of those very hard races to get him to the performance he showed in Cheltenham. And I'd say that's probably the reason why Henry is going over to have him battle hardened for later in the spring. Yeah, getting down through the rest of them, Lost in Translation was third in the Gold Cup a few years ago, never turned up last year, but Tizard's horses are back in mighty form, so he can't be ruled out of it either. It's going to be what King George deserves to be. For me, I think Clan des Obo is the one to beat. Chantry House is a little bit of a dark horse, and hopefully I can get involved at some stage on Tornado Flyer.
We hope so, Danny, definitely. And Paddy, how do you see it going in the King George? Obviously, from an Irish point of view, you'll be hoping maybe Manila Indo can improve a little bit from his last run.
Yeah, the worry is the sharp track with Manila Indo. And to be fair, Henry stuck cheek pieces on him, which I think has to be a positive. Desi Hughes used to do it years ago with Hardy Eustace and Schindler's Hunt. He'd stick on headgear for certain tracks and take them off. Just not that your horse is idle or anything, it just sharpens them up that little bit. So I don't think he's just bringing them there just for the day out, like Danny might have suggested, just to get him battle hard. And I think he's going to win the race. For me, if you ask me what I'd ride in it, I would ride Manila Indo. I think he's the best horse in the race. He's obviously better around Cheltenham. The Gold Cup trip really suits him. But yeah, Cheekpiece's first time. I can see Rachel booking him out there with the speed, and hopefully, I'd say she'll jump to first, maybe very close to Froda and settle in behind him. And if you give me a pick, I'd pick him.
Excellent stuff. And Richard, from a British point of view, can you make the case for any of them? Obviously, Clan looks the obvious candidate, but Frodon will still be there battling on, no doubt.
Yeah, no, like Paul Nichol's got a very strong hand. Clan Zobo definitely he looked a lot sharper, Jimmy, last year with a bit of headgear on and everything else, and just they definitely got him back in the right frame of mind again. So he's definitely I can see why he's favourite, and he's definitely been there, and he can do it. But with likes of Frodo on it as well, it's going to be a real test. And some years you'd say, Milenendo, is he going to be quick enough? But actually, I'm sure it's going to be an end-to-end gallop. So I think those sort of horses, they definitely come into reckoning. Like we're saying, Milenendo, he's probably the best horse in the race. It's just whether this track is really going to suit him. But I think it's going to be a stiff test. For me, Lost in Translation is a huge price, really. I think he was definitely a good performance at Ascot, and I think last year he never, like I was just saying, never turned up at a race course all year. He just a lot of Tizard's horses, they weren't in form. For him to win on his reappearance, I thought he'd run well. I actually thought he might struggle to win at Ascot, because you almost think he might just take a run to get back to that sort of form. But to win, I think that might have done his confidence the world of good. And for me, 14-1, he's the each way value in the race. He is a Grade 1 performer, and he's the one horse in the race. We still don't know how good he is. 2 years ago we all thought this is a superstar waiting to happen, and then obviously the wheels fell off. But I think him and Chantry House are the unknown package. Chantry House, again, done nothing wrong, and he's the horse that is still on the upgrade. And I think Lost in Translation for me is the value. I still think he's got more to come.
Definitely so. And going across to Ireland, to Leopardstown on Boxing Day, or St. Stephen's Day, as you like to call it. There's a horse there who's still on the upgrade, Danny. Fernie Hollow, who goes in the Racing Post Novice Chase and really could be anything still.
Yeah, definitely. He was good in Punchestown, a little bit rusty early on, made his few mistakes, jumped a little bit to the left. And what I did like about him was when the pressure really came on late on, Course Sublime headed him going down to the last. He went down, jumped that very well. And ran out a good winner. It was a tough test for him, but he seems to answer the question every time. He's beaten Appreciated. He's beaten Bob Altinger. His form is fantastic. The world is still at this lad's feet, and while he was a tricky bumper horse early on, little bit keen and has his quirks that way. 2 mile chasing really looks to be his game. But, Course Sublime lines up against him here again, and he had a very good run, in that race in Punchestown. Could possibly improve a little bit from it again and give him plenty to think about. You can't forget about Revere de Tel, a 4-year-old filly getting the £13 allowance. Looks a great jumper. What she's done around Navan, Punchestown and Fairy House, she just looks class. She'd get out, jump and gallop, and Course Sublime and Fernie Hollow won't want to be letting her away down the back straight with that light weight on her back. She's not out of it, but I still think Fernie Hollow has the engine to cover these. Needs to brush up a little bit early in a race, a 2 mile grade 1. You won't get away with those mistakes, but I think he should do the job.
Excellent stuff. At Limerick, Paddy, there's the Faheen Novice Chase, another grade 1. That looks a really nice race on paper. Gavin Yarko is in there at the top of the betting, but Vanilla looks sort of overpriced a little bit, I thought. I think he's been trimmed in a little bit, but looks to be an each way angle anyway.
Oh, Vanillier's the value in the race. For me, not even each way. I think he wins it. He would have needed his run the first day. He's a smashing jumper. I know he's stepping back in trip, but Limerick Christmas time, the ground's going to be plenty soft. It's a good race. It is a proper grade 1. There's nothing easy about it. Gabinenko's jumping let him down the last day. He probably would have been. I would have thought he would have won the race if 5 out he made a bad mistake, 2 out he nodded at the last, he nodded, and he wasn't beaten all that far. But Henry de Bromhead has the 2 of them, and I can see him being 1-2. Vanilla for me is a classier horse, bolted in Cheltenham last year, and yeah, I just love the way he jumps too.
Excellent. I'll come back to you, Richard, as we move on to the 27th of December, and obviously Welsh Grand National Day at Chepstow. We'll start with that one. There's been talk this week that Native River will be retired at the end of this season. Obviously a brilliant partner with you in the Welsh Grand National in 2016. It'll be a good way if you could win this again to sort of bow out in what will be his last season.
Yeah, no, look, he's obviously one of my favourites. He's been an absolute star the last few years, and he never runs a bad race. And I think the owners there's not many options for him really. The Cotswold Chase there at the end of January is his next option if he didn't run in this, and he's come out of the race at Aintree really well, and they thought, well, there's no reason not to come here. I actually spoke to Joe on Monday, and he'd just done a piece of work, and he said that he's in good order, and look, he can carry the weight. It's no problem. Obviously, it's just he's got plenty of rivals around him, decent horses that are going to be on a lot less than he is. And again, I'm sure there's a certain few trainers that are actually delighted he's running because of that. But I'm sure it's going to be hard for him to give that much weight to all those horses. But I still think he's got a great each way chance. And look, I'm going to Chepstow on Monday, and I can't wait to see him. And fingers crossed, I'll be cheering him on. But last year's winners obviously favourite for the race, and I know he hasn't had a reappearance, but Evan Williams, he'll get him there 100%. So he's got to have a great chance. And again, Native River's definitely going to help him his chance, I think, with the weight he's got to carry. And I think actually Colin Tizard's other run in the race, Elegant Escape, obviously won the race before as well. Again, with Native River running, he only got to carry, I think it's 10-10 or 11-1. So he's off a real decent weight. This horse ran the Gold Cup and everything else. So I think Elegant Escape, he's 14-1. I thought he was, proper value for the race. And Kimberlite Candy, that's ran so well in the Grand National, and a very, very decent horse, won a Warwick National as well. So he's a real stayer. And I think by Monday, we've got rain today, rain tomorrow, and rain over the next couple of days. So by Chepstow on Monday, there's a fair chance they're giving it good to soft at the moment. I'm nearly sure it'll be soft and testing. So to say 3 mile 5 around there, you've got to need a proper stayer that can handle the conditions. So I think that's what you're looking for as well. So there's plenty of value in the race. But I thought Kimberley Candy at 33-1 was a very, very decent bet.
Excellent stuff. And Chepstow was always a happy hunting ground for you, especially this meeting as well with the other Grade 1 on the card, the Coral Finale Juvenile Hurdle that you won with Defy Desoy as well. Obviously a great race on paper again, and one that won't be easy to just find the winner of.
No, I think I must admit, wouldn't mind riding Defy in it again. I think I went round in second gear and he just took me around, so I didn't have to do too much that day, so that was brilliant. But it's always a very competitive race. It's a very valuable prize. But again, with the ground, I'd be surprised if it's not going to be soft by then. You are looking for a juvenile that stays well. Harry Fry's horse, he's done nothing wrong. He's going to be one of the main fancies for the race. And again, he just looks like a horse that's taken to hurdles really, really well. But I thought that the one horse in the race that might be slightly unexposed is Jane Williams' horse, Saint Seagal. Only ran once, but much more of a jumping pedigree, and just could be a type that their horses really always improve a lot for a first run, and can they know when, if they run them in a Grade 1, they're not just there for the day out either. So I thought again he was at a 14-1 shot, which I thought was probably a horse that could run above his odds anyway.
Excellent, Paddy. I'll come to you now for Leopardstown on the 27th, the Paddy's Rewards Club Chase, where Chacun Pour Soir's in there, Envoy Alan. It looks a really good race on paper. I know Danny likes Chacun, but how do you think he'll get on, Paddy, on this week?
Yeah, well, look, I can forgive Chacun Pour Soir that bad run the last day, because I even thought just going even to the first fence and seeing him jumping, you could nearly tell that he wasn't on his game, back in Leopardstown, where he's been brilliant. Every time he's gone there, he's been brilliant. He loves that track. He's such a highly rated horse. You kind of have to forgive him the bad runs, because he's had his couple of bad runs in Cheltenham before and bounced back and put it right. So I think with Envoy Allen, I think they're just throwing a little bit at the stumps now, back to 2 miles. For me, and absolutely nothing against Rachel Blackmore, she's an exceptional rider, but I think Davy Russell was nearly the key to Envoy Allen. He just cuddled him around from the parade ring in Cheltenham to the start. He never let the horse even get into a hack. He trod him down. He was patting him, and to me, since he's left Gordon's and he's in Henry's, he just seems to be doing too much too early in his races, and he's not just flowing, and he's cutting out late. But I'd love to see Davy back on him. Whether it would happen or not, I don't know. But I think Chacun Pour Soir just has a nice. I think he just bounces out leads and wins.
Danny, firstly, how's Chacun been going at home? If you've been seeing him around at Willie Mullins, and then also the Paddy Power Future Champion Novice Hurdle, there's a couple in that you've ridden before, Grangey and Far Out. How do you expect them to get on in that as well?
Yeah, I think Chacun definitely deserves to be favourite. He will bounce back here. He looks to be in good nick at home. Last year, if you go back to his Hilly Way run, he wasn't that impressive down in Cork. He seems to need that first run of the year. He's quite stuffy until he gets a race, and Sandown was just a no-show really. That it was a decent race. They went a good gallop and he just folded. I think back at Leopardstown, it's home territory for him. And Envoy Allen, as Paddy's saying, I think they're trying something different. It's not working. I don't see from what he's got beat in his last couple of runs. Well, he won in Down Royal. There wasn't much in that race, but there's nothing to show that 2 miles is going to bring out the best in him again. But Henry Bromhead is a master with 2 mile chasers. His record speaks for itself, so you never know. But I think Chacun should easily get back on track. And the novice hurdle in Leopardstown, it's an exciting race. There's plenty in here with decent chances. Mighty Potter probably looked the one to take out of the race in the Royal Bond in Fairy House. He just a little bit green, running on nicely at the finish. And if he can jump sharper, he looks to have a right chance in it. Laggy debut won in Cork, beat Kilcrut, and they were a mile clear of the third that day. That line of form is very good. Laggy debut's jumping was very good that day as well, and you'd have to give him his chance. Grand G won her maiden hurdle. It was a nothing race, but you couldn't but be impressed the way she'd done it. Three Stripe Life for Gordon here is probably the same as Grand G. Won a week maiden hurdle, but quite impressive. The one I think is maybe overpriced is Far Out. He's 20-1. He's only been beaten maybe 4 lengths in the Royal Bond in Fairy House. And if they just go a little bit more of a true gallop start to finish here, I think he could get involved. Whether he's good enough to win it, I don't know. But at 20-1, there's a lot of value there for each way punter on it. If I was to nail my colours to the cross with one, I think looking at Mighty Potter in the Royal Bond, he's the one you'd have to go for. But there's so little between those top few in the betting. I think Far Out at 20-1 is not bad value for me.
Excellent stuff, and I'll stick with you, Danny, as we move on to the 28th of December, the Leopardstown Christmas Hurdle. There's obviously Florian Porter is still in this. Nothing has been declared yet because we're still at the entry stage when we're recording this. But if he does get a run in that, I imagine you'll be probably taking the ride there.
Yeah, I'll be back on board. He was unlucky to fall the last day in Navan. I think he'll improve a lot from that. Schooled him in Gavin's last week, and he seems in great nick. Classical Dream obviously won in Punchestown when Florian Porter pulled up last year, but Florian Porter, it just got a little bit upset before that day and was probably bet before the race started. If Florian Porter produces his A game, I think he's the best horse in the race. But Classical Dream, how much more can he do? He'd one run at 3 miles and won that Grade 1 in Punchestown, so it won't be an easy task. But I'd be quite hopeful that Florian Porter will cover him here. He's going left-handed again. He's had the benefit of the run under his belt. The one, I'm not sure if she'll run. As I said, it's there's no declarations for this as well, but Burning Victory, she's still in a few handicaps. She's probably got a nice mark of 143, and I'd be surprised if Willie doesn't try and exploit that mark. But she could run a decent race were she to be declared in this. I rode her in Navan the last day, and there was 3 or 4 false starts and just didn't get away at all. I'd draw a line through that run. She was bet in that position before she got to the first hurdle. So Burning Victory is one for your shortlist still, wherever she turns up over Christmas.
Excellent stuff. And Paddy, the Savills Chase is going to be another big one for the Gold Cup contenders, and it's a sort of a who's who in there. It's obviously no entries, declarations yet, but the entries are out, and it's a strong field that's likely going to turn up there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if A Plus Tard turns up, he wins. He looks like a horse that's got better again this year. I mean, he bolted up in Haydock, and he looks so easy to ride. Jumped super. He's a horse on the up, and he's a horse going places. You've also got the likes of Galvin in there. He's solid. He'll run his race, but I don't think he's anywhere near as good as A Plus Tard. The horse I always stick with at Christmas around Leopardstown just for each way value is Kenboy. He's a good record around the place. If he gets it out in front, like Danny's rolled him a few times like that, just throw the reins on his neck, be brave on him. He's still got a hell of a lot of ability, but for me, I'd love to ride A Plus Tard in the race if I had to pick.
Do you think that there's more improvement this year likely to come probably from A Plus Tard than there is Minella Indo? Do you think that it could be the form reversed in the Gold Cup in March?
Yeah, just on what we've seen so far this year, I mean, A Plus Tard was just exceptional when he travelled across the water. Well, look, Minella Indo could come out and win the King George, and then we'd be saying, well, no, we were wrong. But it's hard to see his horse A Plus Tard getting beat, and I think he could be just getting better and better, and he could really be a Gold Cup contender.
Definitely so, and it's going to be a good battle there on the 28th of December. We'll go on to the 29th now. Richard, I'll come back to you with the shallow hurdle at Newbury. Obviously, this is a race you won with Time Hill, who's one of your favourite horses, even still when you're in retirement, and it always takes a good one to win this when you look back through the Roll of Honour anyway.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely you definitely need a stayer as well, which again by then if the rain comes as forecast, Newbury can get soft and hard work, and it usually ends up quite a test of stand with this race. So obviously Gordon Elliott's got a couple of horses entered in the race. I don't know if he's bringing anything over. So yeah, it's obviously starting at the moment. We're not quite sure what's going to run, but Loose Mouth or Mouth of Tom Lacey's was a really good winner at Sandown. He's really stepped up on what he's done before, but you could not be impressed by that. And again, just that sort of performance where, with the blinkers really seemed to sort of sharpen him up. I won a bumper on him a couple of years ago, and we thought it was a nice horse. And he was a little bit disappointed at his first few runs over hurdles. So that was definitely a big step in the right direction again. And actually, Henry Daly's got a horse in here called Hillcrest, horse late Trevor Hemmings. It's bolted up in 2 novice hurdles so far this year, and he's a massive horse. But again, he'll be really suited by a test of stamina and a track like Newbury. He was sort of a 12-1 shot when I was looking earlier. So he's definitely probably of the horses that haven't contested Grady Company yet. He might be a horse on the upgrade as well. So again, it's a very good race, but it depends on what turns up on the day. But I think you'll definitely need a horse that is going to stay all this. Most of the winners of the Challow always go on to they're more like stayers, so 3-mile hurdlers in the end. So like I said, I think that's what you're looking for when before you see what runs.
Excellent, and one that'll definitely need some staying ability. Paddy, over at Leopardstown on the 29th is the Neville's Hotel Novice Chase over 3 miles. Jigginstown tends to have a good record in this, and it's no surprise they've got a lot of the contenders at the top of the market in the early betting anyway.
Yeah, like Beacon Edge won the Drinmore the last day. That's solid form, It's good solid form. He jumped well. He got a lovely ride off Dennis O'Regan, and the horse that was second to him. Yeah, so you'll see what the form is going to hold up if he turns up in Limerick. Yeah, and then you have the other horse of Gigginstown's as well that also won the Tri-Town Run. Wild Fred jumped well, led. It takes a fair horse with a bit of stamina to win a Tri-Town from the front. Went down, popped the last good, and won easy. He's plenty of old experience, and but I think at Beacon Edge, he could be a really, really nice chaser, and there's plenty of more improvement in him. So, yeah, look, I'd be sticking with him.
Excellent, and we'll finish up, Danny, with you and the Matheson Hurdle at Leopardstown on the 29th. Obviously, a marker for the champion hurdle. It's not always worked out to find the winner, but Sharjah's dominated this race in the last 3 years and goes for the 4th time this time around.
Yeah, and he's the one you'd have to start with. He loves Leopardstown. The only thing you'd want to be keeping an eye on for Sharjah is the weather. He doesn't like the ground to get too soft, and generally Leopardstown holds up to be quite nice ground. Even if we're getting a bit of rain, that hurdle track takes quite a bit of it. But if it turns soft, that opens up the door maybe for some of the 4-year-olds to get a chance of getting involved with him. Sana here, I thought it was quite interesting that he made it in the Morgiana and went quite steady. To me, he looks like a strong stayer. I didn't think he would beat Sharjah for speed, so I'd imagine they'll probably change tactics here and make it a bit of a test. And if the rain does come, it definitely swings it around to Zana here. But he's still got plenty to find. Calixius won well in Cheltenham, but since then, disappointed in Punchestown at the festival and didn't look maybe happy in Naas on his reappearance, hung a little bit right off the home turn and just didn't look like the horse that was winning in Cheltenham earlier in the spring. You're getting down to Eckers and Rain, winner grade 1 in Punchestown, but I don't know how strong the form of that race was and just disappointed in the Morgiana. Abracadabra is an interesting horse here. He finished 3rd in the race in Fairy House, 2.5 mile grade 1 behind Honeysuckle. That was a solid run, and He's won a Morgana before. I think at 8-1. There's a bit of value about him. He could be the one to give Sharjah most to think about here. You're getting down to Saldier, solid performer, but I don't know if he's up to this real top 2 mile division. You know, he won the Galway Hurdle, good performance with plenty of weight, and I won them in Tipperary, but just got found out maybe the last day in Fairyhouse as well. Tihufu won in Naas, beating Quilixius. Looks more of a stayer. He'll want a lot of rain as well. I don't know if he's good enough to be doing things at this kind of trip. Back at 2 miles, it is probably short for him. San Roy for Willie. JP McManus was supposed to go chasing and has reverted back to hurdling. Was a very good handicapper, won the county hurdle and just hasn't made the transition through to top 2 mile hurdle, and the rest of them look like they're just not going to be good enough. You know, you're going through all of those and you're getting back to Sharjah. It's his race to lose. Hopefully the ground holds up, and I think the Sharjah winnow around Leopardstown will beat them.
Excellent stuff. It's certainly going to be an exciting race. And just before I let you all go to enjoy your Christmas with your families, just give us a best bet. Danny, I'll start with you, either from one of your rides that you've got over the Christmas period or one that you fancy from anywhere, really.
Best bet, the first day in Leopardstown, Emmett Mullins runs a horse in the bumper. Hold on, his name escapes me for the moment. So Scottish, 4-year-old bumper, the first day in Leopardstown. Third in Punchestown at the festival in a bumper. Won a point quite nicely, and Emmett thinks quite a lot of him.
Excellent stuff. We'll keep an eye on that one. And Paddy, anything for you?
I'm going to go with a horse in the Hunter's Chase in Down Royal, Stand Up and Fight. Derek Connor in the Bulger. JP McManus. Yeah, I think the green and gold will have a good Christmas, and I think this is the one there. I think it's around 3-1, so it's a little bit of value.
Happy days. They certainly had a good weekend at Ascot last weekend anyway. Richard, anything for you, either from the UK or in Ireland, that's caught your eye?
Well, I just, obviously look at the races we look at today. I just thought Lost in Translation was a huge price in King George. You know, I don't think he should be that big a price. And I generally think he's one of the best chasers in England. Jimmy, I think he if he's coming back to his best, I can't see him being out the 3 in the King George. So I thought each way he's very, very, very good value.
Excellent. So 3 really good picks there to keep an eye on over the festive period. Danny, we wish the best of luck with your rides over the festive period, and obviously we hope you win the King George, and we'll be shouting you home. And Paddy and Richard, have a great Christmas with your families, and we'll see you in the new year.